Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I'm Melanie and I do a variety of different videos. My most predominant video in every video that isn't this type of video are vlogs. During December, not only am I doing my normal bi-weekly vlogs, I'm doing Vlogmas, so a vlog every day, and I'm also doing what I'm calling Christmas vlogs, which is basically continuation from the bi-weekly vlogs. So in total there are 11 vlogs on my channel per week currently. I also do other content on Sunday and Tuesday, and that could be anything from unboxing things to reviewing things to trying things on camera to talking about experience of things or story times. So I am doing another story time. I know I did one on Sunday, but health issues and me being very unwell means I can't really film what I would want to film today or had planned on filming. Firstly, also before I start this story time, there's mess there, there's mess there. I need to tidy this room. It's really bad. But really, are you going to watch me or are you going to look at the background? So this story time is from 9 years ago actually. I went on holiday to Turkey. I hadn't planned on going on holiday to Turkey. I hadn't even planned to go on holiday that year at all. But I ended up being given this holiday about 10 days before the holiday was due to happen, because the person who was meant to be going on the holiday with the partner, other half, the person they were married to, had a massive stroke, and they'd literally just come back off holiday. I think they'd been to India, come back, and they had this stroke, and I got told, and I went up to the hospital to see them, and as I was going up, their partner was wheeling them outside to have a cigarette. So you have a stroke and then you go smoke, because, you know, that won't have had anything to do with the fact you had a stroke. So I went to see them every day when they're in hospital, and I think this is why I ended up being given the holiday rather than the other potential person from the family who could have been given it. So they asked me if I wanted the holiday, and the only person I could go with was my dad, basically, because at that time I literally had no confidence. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't really go out the house. I did have some friends, but I didn't really go out the house. And yeah, I accepted the holiday, but I'm not a massive fan of flying, and I'm not scared of flying. I just get severe travel sickness. So I went on this holiday, and the only downside to it was I had to share a room with my dad. That's the last thing I or anyone would probably want to do. So that was the thing that, like, I was just like, I hope there's 2 beds, otherwise someone's sleeping on the sofa if there's a sofa. So I didn't have to pay anything for the holiday. In fact, the person who given the holiday actually had to pay to have our names transferred onto the tickets, and I think it was like £120 per person, but they didn't charge us for that, which actually surprised me. So off we went to Turkey, and I've never had Turkey on my list of places to visit. Like, I don't have a massive list of places I'd want to visit, but Turkey was never on my list. But, you know, there wasn't a massive reason why I didn't want to go to Turkey. It wasn't on my list. So I can't go out in the sun without a hat on for longer than 20 minutes, 30 at a push, because I get sunstroke really easily because I have fair skin. I am a natural blonde. It's not as blonde as it's looking now. It's looking really light, but it's probably the same colour as my eyebrows. And I just burn, like I get really ill. I have sunstroke even in the UK. I can't go out in the sun for longer than half an hour at a time. I don't know if I can go out for half an hour, be inside for 2 hours and go out for half an hour again. I've not even really tried that, but I just can't. I went away without a hat. Had every intention to buy a hat when I was away, because most people do that, or some people travel with it on the head, but I just didn't get one. I just got some holiday clothes and that was it. And I got sunstroke pretty fast, and I was really ill, and my dad was like totally despairing with me, because not only did I not really want to do much because I had zero confidence, I had anxiety, I didn't want to be around people. So, and also where we were staying at in Turkey, we're staying at Alanya. That's the part of Turkey we were staying, and the place where we were staying, there weren't really much around there. Like, there was like some little shops and that, things like that, but there was nothing. You had to get the bus places. So we were getting the bus to certain places and walking around the markets, not the markets, like all the little shops and things like that, and buying little bits and pieces and eating out and stuff, because I think we were half bored, so we could have breakfast and we could have our evening meal, but we couldn't have lunch. So we'd have our lunch wherever we were. And then I don't know what day into the holiday it was, but we were walking along the marina and we got approached by some men and they were selling boat trips, and they were like, we'll come and pick you up from your hotel and we'll bring you to the boat and you'll be on the boat, and then we'll have a barbecue, and then you get back on the boat, and then we take you back to where we started. So we booked on it, and I don't think it was very expensive. It was something like €20. It worked €20. I can't remember what the money was. I don't think it was euros. I don't think they were in the euro then. No, they weren't. I don't know what the money was, but it was quite cheap. So we booked on it, and then I think they said they'd pick us up from the hotel at 10 o'clock the next morning. So the next morning it was like 10:30 and they'd not come. So we basically thought we'd got conned out of this money, and that was it really. But then the bus turns up and we get on it, and it wasn't a bus that we expected. We thought it would be quite a big bus, and it was a little bus, and we kept stopping and getting more people were getting on, and it was really packed. We were like literally sardines in a can. And we got to the boat, and it wasn't a massive boat. It weren't the biggest one there. It was, I don't know how big it was. It wasn't massive, and I think there was like 15 of us, probably 15 of us, and it had room for everyone. It wasn't like cramped, but it wasn't a big boat. So I decided I was going to go on the top deck. I don't know why I wanted to be on the top deck. I think I wanted to see everything. So before I carry on with the story, I suffer from travel sickness, motion sickness, air sickness, sea sickness. I went out to Turkey with no travel sickness tablets, no sea sickness tablets, nothing. So I don't know why in my mind I thought I could go on a boat for several hours and be absolutely fine. So we're on the boat and the boat sets off, and as soon as we get out of the docks, I started to feel probably instantly sick from the sea. It wasn't the choppiest sea. It wasn't really, really bad. And I just remember feeling sick quite quickly, but I thought, I'm outside, I'll take deep breaths, I'll be fine. Didn't think it was this what was making me sick. I just, when you like, I was already quite ill anyway from too much sun. I think I'd actually did have a headscarf on, because my dad made me buy a headscarf. And if I can find any of the pictures, I'll insert them, but I don't think I've got any pictures. But I'd bought like a bandana, a blue one, and I wore it because I got sunstroke. And I don't know if I was wearing it when we were on the boat, or if the bandana happened after the boat incident. So I felt sick, and I'm taking deep breaths, and I just couldn't understand why I got sick so quickly. But then again, I'd never been on a boat at sea. Anytime I've ever been on a boat was been on the lakes, like on the Lake District, and I've got sick on, like, when you go on the big boats to cross the lake. Are they ferries? I get sick on them. So I didn't what I don't even know what I was thinking. A little boat on a sea that's doing this, and I'm agreeing to a day trip. So a couple of minutes in, and I'm like, I really feel sick, I want to get off the boat. My dad's like, you can't get off the boat, we've left the docks, we've left the marina, we're at sea. So the boat starts to go around the edge of some cliffs, and it's really choppy by the cliffs, and I got more and more unwell, and then I started throwing up. There was nowhere to throw up. It was not like I could throw up over the side of the boat, because I probably would have fallen in. Someone hands me a carrier bag, and I'm trying to be sick in the carrier bag, but I'm totally missing. It's going all over the boat. There's people like recoiling in horror at me throwing up everywhere, and I'm crying, and I'm so ill, and the boat's going around the cliff, and I'm like, my dad said I was in and out of consciousness, like I just didn't know what was going on. And I don't know how long we was on the boat for, but eventually we got somewhere, and it was mooring at sea, like mooring in this bay, but you couldn't get off. It was like staying there, and they were going to do a barbecue there. So like the captain got told I was really ill and I needed to get off the boat. So he called to the land, and they come across on a dinghy, one of those dinghy boats, to get us off. And they wouldn't let us on the boat until my dad had paid them 20, I don't know if it was euros at the time, but let's just say 20 euros, that's what it cost for us to get on this dinghy for a 30-second trip to shore. So I got off the boat when we got to shore, totally in a daze. My dad was trying to get me to walk with him, and he said that I was all over the place, that I kept walking off, and I wanted to go and get in the sea, and I was being an absolute nightmare. And then he finally got me away from the water, and I collapsed by this boat, this old boat that was by like some sand that probably used to be in the water but wasn't in the water. And he said I was making absolutely no sense. And what I'm gonna like tell you now, until like a couple of days later, is basically what my dad has told me, because I don't remember much. So he said that I was like refusing to move. I was trying to get shade underneath this boat, and then he said he didn't know what to do. He didn't know where we were, he didn't know how far we were from the hotel, he just didn't know what to do, and he said he felt panicked. And then this taxi driver, who basically ended up saving my life, but at this point noticed that there was a problem, and he came over, and my dad was trying to get me to drink water, and he could see I was really unwell and I was really dehydrated, and he was like, she needs to pour water on back of hands. Like, his English wasn't amazing, but basically if you pour water on your back of your hands, that helps you when you're severely dehydrated. So he was pouring water on the back of my hands, and he asked my dad where we were staying, and like through bits of broken English and my dad showing him something from the hotel, he worked out where we were staying. And then when we got there, he said he was so helpful, and it only cost 20 euros or whatever it's called to get us back. And he said that when we got back, he told him to keep putting water on the back of my hands, put something cold and wet on the back of my neck, and just keep me hydrated. So he got me into the hotel and into the hotel room, and there was 2 beds, by the way. There was a double and a single in the same room, and I had the double bed. He got me in the bed, and he panic rang my mum, and my mum basically told him not to take me to the hospital because it would cost a lot of money. I'm pretty sure we had insurance, but that's what she told him not to do. She's just told him to keep me hydrated and go and see a chemist, like go to a chemist, see a pharmacist. So I was pretty out of it. I were eating, I was refusing drinking, and I discovered, or my dad discovered, that I liked Sprite. I drank Sprite like it was going out of fashion when we were there. So he kept going and getting me bottles of Sprite to drink. And there were big ones there. I think they were like the smallest size was like a litre or just under a litre. So he was coming back with Sprite, which is really good to drink because it's lemon and lime and water, obviously. So he was getting me that, and he went to see the chemist, and I'd gone out with Pepto-Bismol, but I didn't have lots, so he tried to get something similar because he knows that helps me with sickness, and he got some tablets and some little bits and pieces to take, and I took them, and like I wasn't very well for days afterwards, and my dad was still going out drinking at night, and he was basically leaving me there. So I was there one night all by myself, pretty out of it. I didn't know my dad had gone out. I didn't know where I was. This could have actually been the first night, to be honest, and my dad really shouldn't have left me, but drinking is his thing and he has to go out and drink, even if it means leaving me. So I'd woke up and I think he'd left the TV on, and it was the day Michael Jackson had died. So there was this news report on that Michael Jackson had died, and I thought, from what I can remember, that I was dreaming, or like I just remember thinking, this isn't right, that's not happened, like Michael Jackson can't die, it's Michael Jackson. I just remember thinking that, and then this news report went on and on and on and on and on, just going on about Michael Jackson dying, and I was just so confused by it. I didn't know where I was or what was going on, and I walked to the balcony and I climbed up to jump off the balcony because I literally thought I was dreaming. I just thought, this isn't real, Michael Jackson's not died, I don't know where I am, I don't know what's going on. Like, I was so confused, and I climbed up and I was about to jump off and I slipped backwards and fell on the floor. Like, and it wasn't a massive balcony, and the next thing I know, my dad's there and he's shouting at me like, what you doing? And I was like, Michael Jackson's died, this isn't right, where am I? And he's like, you're on holiday, you're in Turkey, remember? And I just couldn't remember, and he said that he'd put me back to bed, and I woke up the next day and I told him that like I'd had this weird dream about Michael Jackson dying, and he's like, no, Michael Jackson has died. And I still thought I was dreaming because I couldn't comprehend how or why. Obviously I wasn't in the state to watch the news or understand the news because of how ill I was, but my dad was like, you need to go out today, you need to eat, you know, you need to go out, you know, and I begged him to let me go home, and I think it was 3 days before we were due home, and my dad simply couldn't afford to buy the tickets to go home and pay for the travel to the airport and everything else. He just couldn't afford it, and I begged him for hours because I was so ill. But really, he should have taken me for treatment at a proper hospital because I was that ill. You know, the fact that I was confused about where I was and about Michael Jackson, like, it didn't hit me properly until I got on the plane when I did come home. And he was like, I really can't afford to buy the tickets for us to go home. And, you know, I begged him. I begged him until the day we left, actually. I just wanted to go home. I didn't want to be there. I was ill and I didn't want to do anything. A, because of my anxiety. B, because I didn't have any confidence at that time. I literally didn't go out the house. It was very rare for me to leave the house at that point in my life. But it was just hard for me, and, you know, I couldn't get my head around that Michael Jackson had died. Like, I thought I'd imagined that part, even when my dad kept confirming it to me. I just was like, Michael Jackson's not going to die before me. Michael Jackson is young at heart. Like, in my mind, I would die before him. So that was probably why I couldn't get my head around it. So on the day we did leave, I was so happy to leave. Like, normally when you're on holiday, it's like, oh, I'm leaving today, and you don't really want to leave. But I wanted to leave more than anything. And we got to the airport and we had Burger King. It was really expensive, but I was just trying to use my euros up, and I did buy like stuff in duty free and things like that, and then we got delayed, and I was on the floor of the hotel, on the floor in the airport crying because I'd wanted to come home for 3 days by this point, and it got delayed, and it got to the point where we basically got told that we were going to end up having to stay the night and they were going to put us up. And luckily and thankfully, and I've been thankful ever since to the crew, but the crew decided to do a quick turnaround, so the aeroplane was quickly cleaned and they decided to go straight back because of like the delays, and they got delayed somewhere else. They were basically gonna stop for the night, but they decided they wanted to get back as well, so luckily we got to get on the airplane and come back, and even though it was like hours and hours and hours after we were meant to come back. And when I got on the plane, my dad basically spoke to one of the stewards. Are they called stewardess? Why does that sound wrong? And he told her how sick I was, and she basically went and got me ginger ale, and it actually helped a lot. And we all got given newspapers, and that's when I read all about Michael Jackson. But also because I suffer from air sickness, I have to sit still. I can't move around a lot, so if I'm doing something, because I do try to distract myself, I do listen to music, and I also read a little bit. I can't read a lot, like I might be able to read for 20 minutes and then I had to put it away, but I had to constantly concentrate, so I find flying very tiring because I had to concentrate on something the whole time. So we got these papers and I read all about Michael Jackson, and it finally sunk in my head, but for the days leading up to it, it wasn't real. So it hit me quite hard because, you know, it's Michael Jackson. Like, I grew up watching him, and you know, I always thought he would outlive me. So it was very hard, and it was very hard not only to find out how it happened and why he died, and it was an unnecessary death, but also that it happened when I was so ill and so out of it that I couldn't comprehend it or feel like it actually had happened. And I almost jumped off a balcony because I felt like I was in some kind of weird dream or something. So that's how I almost died in Turkey. Not only did I almost... Oh, and I forgot a bit. Apparently when I was throwing up on the boat, I don't know if I forgot this, I tried to jump off the boat, and I was basically told the state that I was in, I would have drowned because I was totally out of it. I would have just drowned, and I can swim, but I would have definitely drowned. So I almost drowned. I almost died of dehydration or sunstroke, and my dad didn't like take me to hospital like he should have done. Then I almost jumped off a balcony because he'd gone to the pub and left me unconscious, not knowing if I was well or not. So that's how I almost died various times whilst I was in Turkey. And that finally completes the story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and click the bell notification button, and then you'll get an alert when I upload a similar video. I'm going to try and do a few more story times in the new year. I don't think, unless I'm too ill to do any other video, that I will do any more story times, but you never know that I'll do any story times this year, but you never know because I am quite unwell and I'm trying to at least get my content up. If you have any questions, leave them down below, and I'll be back very soon with another video. Thank you for watching.